Hey guys, it's Jessie and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is probably going to be quite a long one, so I would recommend that we all grab a drink, grab a snack, and make sure we are all comfortable, because in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you guys my eyeshadow palette collection. So I did this video, it was one of the first videos on my channel actually. I didn't do it too long ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, probably 3 months ago, so that's when I started this channel. And my eyeshadow collection has grown a lot since then. So I thought I would do a little updated one with you guys. I've decluttered a few and gained quite a few more eyeshadows. So I have 39 eyeshadow palettes in my collection currently. You may think that's a lot or not a lot, depending on where you're at with your makeup, but for me, I'm actually reasonably happy with that. I know I've got a few that I could probably get rid of, but I don't want to do that just yet. I'm pretty happy with my collection, but I did just want to share it with you guys to update you on what I do have. So this that you can see, these piles here that you can kind of see, they are from my eyeshadow palette drawer. And I also, because I'm sitting at my vanity right now, have a drawer next to me with my kind of eyeshadow palettes that are in projects that you guys will have seen a little bit more on my channel recently. So like my A to Z eyeshadow project pan and my Pan Those eyeshadows. So I'm going to keep those in the drawer, but I'm going to bring them out one by one to show you guys first. Then we're going to go through these. So I will try and link every palette that I can in the description down below. So if you want to check it out, you are more than welcome to. I am not going to be swatching in this video again because I don't want it to take 1,000 years. But yeah, I believe that's everything. So let's just get started. I'm not going in literally any order at all. Last time I went in chronological order, but now I feel like I've got too many palettes to organize to do that. So first one I have to show you is the Maybelline Nudes of New York. This is a drugstore palette and it's very nice. I've worked on that shade before, I'm working on this shade currently. Really good quality actually, very good for drugstore. I'm very pleased with this palette, I really enjoy using it and I think it's a great one to have in my collection as a bit more of a drugstore option. I also have the Be Obsessed With palette from Makeup Obsession. This is one of my oldest palettes in my collection, again drugstore. This probably cost me about £6 I think. As you can see, we've got a lot of pans and dips in this one. I think this is going to be my Pan That palette for next year because it is like my second oldest palette and I do think I could really easily pan this if I wanted to. I also really like how the shades can pop out as well. So this is actually a really good quality palette. Obviously it doesn't match up to my really high-end stuff, but for the price I think it's actually really good quality. So then I have my Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. This is stunning. I really love this. These are like the warm tones that are my favorites. I love a mustard yellow look. I love kind of like dirty golds, yellowy browns, like this. These shades are I think my favorite to wear on my eyes, like besides like colors. Like, so this as a neutral is my favorite, so I really adore this palette and I know this is going to be staying in my collection for a long time, although unfortunately it will take me a long time to use it up because these shades are ridiculously hard pressed. So then, keeping on the high-end spectrum, I have my first of 2 Natasha Denona palettes. So this one is the Sunrise palette. I actually picked this up for free because I had enough Look Fantastic credit to pay for it all, which was incredible. But this is just the Sunrise palette. As you can see, I've got a couple of dips but not too many. This is a really gorgeous palette. I really do need to reach for it more often than I do because these shades are stunning. You can see just kind of from where the shades have kind of little bits of glitter have come on the palette. It looks almost like dust that I haven't used it in so long. But yeah, really gorgeous palette. I do adore having this one in my collection. So if you are familiar with my channel, you wouldn't be very familiar with this palette. This is my Pan That palette for this year. This is my oldest palette and I don't love cool tones on me. This wasn't initially the palette that I wanted. I wanted the Naked Heat, but I ended up getting this one, which obviously is still a gorgeous palette, just probably less so the tones that I kind of would reach for. So before last year, this really had no use, but now as it is my Pan That palette, you can see it's definitely got a lot of dips and pans and used up shades completely in here too. So this is a really nice palette. It's still actually quite good quality as well, considering it's probably about 5 years old, maybe almost 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, this was the first high-end palette I ever had, so it does hold a special place in my heart, but this has been a part of my collection for years and years, so I'm excited to be actually finally getting some progress on it. Then we have my first of my many Anastasia palettes. This is the first Anastasia palette I actually ever had. I got this one in TK Maxx last summer. This is the Riviera palette, and as you can see, we've got quite a few pans and dips going on in here, which is always nice to see. This palette is actually really gorgeous. I really enjoy the quality on here, and I do think it's actually really underrated. These brighter shades are really stunning. I will say the three kind of grey blue shades, especially these two, look very, very similar on the eyes, but overall I really enjoy this palette. So I'm hoping to kind of pan this one soon and then maybe get some more progress. I really love this shade Cabana as well. That's really gorgeous, kind of mustardy, greeny yellow shade. But yeah, really gorgeous palette, and I was really happy to find that in TK Maxx. I thought it was an absolute bargain. I got it for like £25, £20. So then this is another one of my older palettes. It was actually my first indie palette and one of my very first high-end palettes too. So I got this a bit after the Naked 3. This is the Coloured Rain Queen of Hearts palette. This palette is stunning and holds such a special place in my heart. I adore it. I don't think I'd ever get rid of this. The shades in here are stunning, especially these two shimmers here. They are just next level gorgeous. I really do want to kind of reach for this palette a little bit more. I don't know why I don't, but it is stunning. I really adore it. So really, really would recommend if you're looking for a more high-end palette. This shade here, these mattes, are stunning too. The only shade I have a bit of trouble with is Ladyship. The rest of them are literally immaculate, perfect and gorgeous. If I could swatch it in, I've swatched this palette so many times on my channel, it's just stunning. So then I do actually have one of my singles palettes. I say one of, this is the only one. This has my Pan That Palette face palette, as well as a depotted Morphe palette and a depotted Steve Laurent palette. So as you can see, my depotting has some casualties, but I do quite like having them in this palette rather than the other ones because I just wasn't reaching for them ever. And you can see my Pan That palette, especially this one, is getting a lot of progress. I cannot wait for this to be done. I've been working on it for almost like a year and a half. It's been insane. So yeah, that is my single palette, my only one actually, because I haven't actually bought any singles from a specific brand, like any indie brands. I've just kind of depotted palettes. Next up we have the first of my many, again, Beauty Bay palettes. I adore the Beauty Bay formula. It is probably my favorite in my collection. This, however, is probably my least favorite out of all of them, but this is just the Sunset Horizons palette. As you can see, I haven't got huge amounts of progress in here, but it is a really gorgeous palette. The quality is really, really high. It doesn't, in my opinion, match quite up to the rest of the Beauty Bay formula. That is just like insanely good, but still, these shimmers are really nice. Mattes blend really nicely, and I'm really, really happy that I have this palette. I wouldn't get rid of it if I had like the option to get my money back or something. I think it's really gorgeous, especially for £15. I think it's such a bargain. So here we have the palette that properly ignited my love for Beauty Bay. This is the first Beauty Bay palette that I have, and this is the Nikkie Tutorials collaboration palette. So as you can see, I've got 3 pans in here. I adore this palette so much. After getting more Beauty Bay palettes, I think they have definitely improved their formula since this one. I think their newer ones, the Opulence, the Wilderness, and especially the Jade palette, have got a bit of a better formula. They're more so shades like this one and the super reflective one here all in, and they're my 2 favorites in this palette. But yeah, this is a gorgeous palette. I wouldn't get rid of it again if I had the option to. I adore this, and I think I'll be keeping this until I eventually use it up. The only issue I have had is with the shade Ivy. I feel like it's slightly expiring. It's turning more putty like, and I've heard other people have had that problem too, but the rest of the shades work fine. So I think there must be slightly different, something slightly different with that formula there. And then the last palette in my top drawer is my Lorac Peach Fizz palette. This is just a nice drugstore palette. I got this for my birthday last year, I believe, from a family member. This is a really nice palette. I do think there's definitely some duplicate shades in here, so I think maybe at some point I probably will depot this into a singles palette and kind of get rid of some of the duplicates, like these 2 shades. These ones are a bit similar, but the shimmers in here are actually really nice. I do apply them a bit more like a loose pigment. I kind of dig them out a little bit and then it works nicer. And the mattes in here are perfectly fine. They work really, really gorgeously, especially these shades down here are actually really, really pretty. So yeah, I really, really enjoy this palette, actually more than I was expecting to, but I think I will depot it at some point to get rid of some of the duplicate shades. So that is everything in my top drawer. Now we can start going through the main bulk of my eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to bring just one of the piles over here and then talk through it. So these, again, are in literally no particular order, but here is the first one we're going to talk about now. This is the Tartelette Little Toasted palette. I won this in a giveaway at the start of the year, and as you can see, I've got 2 pans in here. I did have, I believe it was this shade in my Pan Those eyeshadows, so I do have a little bit of a dip going on. This palette smells incredible. It smells so sweet and so nice. I literally adore it. The shimmers in here are very average. The mattes I find are much better. Really, really nice palette. I really love a good warm neutral. I love oranges on my eyes, so this is like the perfect palette for me. Really pretty. So I think also I'm going to be doing a 1 week 1 palette series next year, so I can get some more use out of my palettes. So I think most of these I'll be very happy to use, but this one I know I'll love for that week, so it'll be really nice to play around with my palettes a little bit more. Next up, I have a newer palette. I did a swatching video of this in my first impressions of the Christmas collection from Beauty Bay, because this is part of the Age of Ultron Renaissance Christmas collection. This is the Golden Age palette. I took this away with me last week when I was away for like 5 days, and I used this one and my singles, and this was really pretty. As you can see, I've got a couple of light dips in these shades. This one was definitely, I think, my favorite, but these two here are also stunning. The mattes are definitely more cool toned than they look in the pan. They definitely come out a lot more cool toned on the eyes, but that's not necessarily an issue. But yeah, I really love this palette. The shimmers in here are such an amazing formula, and this palette is £6.50, so please, I beg you, run and buy this palette. You will not regret it. The golds in here are just immaculate. They are so stunning. Then we have this little kind of 5-pan from Pat McGrath. This is not her like Blitz Astral formula, but this is one of her Sublime Eye Ecstasy palettes, I believe. Yes, I got this at the start of the year and I wasn't overtaken by it, but I definitely like it a lot more now than I did then. I definitely more so appreciate kind of single shadows, single shimmers, rather than like massive palettes of them. I'm really hoping, speaking of massive palettes, I'm hoping to get the Pat McGrath Christmas collection as well, the big palette, but this one I think is really nice. The only dud shade I think is this one. This one's a little bit drier too, so it's kind of these three that are my favorites, but this one still works. This one is more of like a satin. I really don't like it at all, so I actually don't kind of see why I haven't depotted this one yet. I think that might be something I would do because this packaging really isn't anything fancy, so I may do another depotting video soon. Or not another one, I may do a depotting video soon where I depot this one and my Lorac one if I get another singles palette, because I will need to get another one because my one's getting quite full. Next up I have this NARS palette. This was gifted to me from Reagan, from Reagan Plays With Makeup, although she's not really posting on YouTube that much anymore, but she gifted me a few palettes, so I probably won't mention all the ones that she's sent to me. I won't mention it every time, but this one was sent by her very kindly, and this is such a pretty palette. I don't use it as much as I think I should, because I have other palettes that I definitely prefer, but this is perfectly fine quality. I really actually do like the tones. This is definitely kind of a warm neutral palette, which I love, but yeah, the packaging on this as well I absolutely adore. I think it's really pretty and definitely very classy, and it's my only NARS palette, so I like having that one. This palette I don't love, but it is perfect for me for taking on holiday, because I got it in a glossy box and I don't think it's ridiculously expensive, so I wouldn't really care too much if it left my collection. But this is just the palette here, so it's got perfect kind of lid setting and blending shades, and it's got a really nice crease shade for me. This is perfect for my eyebrows, and then obviously a black as well as some really nice shimmers. These shimmers actually do work quite nicely, so I really actually quite enjoy having this palette in my collection, although I don't use it very much when I stay at home. When I'm taking it on holiday, I actually get some good use out of it, so I probably will keep it for that purpose. And then lastly we have the Lime Crime Prelude Exposed palette. I really haven't used this one very much at all. I do think I could pan this palette at some point. I think these are very usable shades for me, besides maybe Abyss and Storm. I think the rest of them I could very easily use, so I may even make this a pan that palette at one point. But yeah, it's a very nice palette. It's very kind of average formula. It's nothing too crazy, but it's not bad by any means. But yeah, that's just why I don't think I've used it too much since I got it. We have the Colourpop Miss Bliss. I can't believe I forgot these. They were just at the back of my makeup drawer, but this is the Miss Bliss palette. This was, I think, my first Colourpop palette, and I actually really like it. As you can see, I've got 2 pans. They are both in my pan, those eyeshadows, so that is why they are panned. But yeah, really nice palette. It's a little bit samey. You can only really get 2 looks if you use this palette, or maybe 3 if you mix the pinks and the oranges together. But yeah, I know a lot of people don't like it. I really like this kind of plastic packaging from Colourpop. Then I've got the Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. I picked this one up from TK Maxx. Oh, that was not a healthy noise. And I've only used it like once or twice. I don't love it. I think I picked it up for the sake of it. I did have a voucher and it was only £10, so I basically got it for free, but it's just very okay. I will keep it because it's my only Huda palette, and I do want to kind of compare it to other things when I get the one of the larger palettes. I'm looking at the Mercury Retrograde. That would probably be nice to compare. And then lastly, I've got this Nabla glitter palette. I don't really count this too much because I only really use it for special occasions. Obviously glitters aren't something I wear every day, but this is a really gorgeous palette. I really like these glitters. They actually stick on quite well without a glitter glue. They're kind of suspended in a some type of sticky solution, which makes it much easier to use them. So next pile, I'm just going to bring this one across. So again, no particular order, but this is my Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. I bought this one off of Depop actually at the start of the year, and it is so pretty. I haven't used it too much, like all too much because obviously it doesn't have a mega cohesive colour story for me in terms of making one look with this palette, because I do like to have a little bit of a darker shimmer than these two. But this is a really high quality palette and I kind of just wanted to have it because it is so iconic. So I think this really kind of properly pads out my collection of Anastasia palettes, and I'm really glad to have it. I don't think it is one that I could kind of say goodbye to easily. Next up we have my, sorry, these are upside down for some reason. Next up we have my ABH Ambrisi palette. This is stunning. Maybe a little spoiler for my Pan des Ashes, don't look there, but this is such a gorgeous palette. This is probably my favorite ABH palette. I feel like this is Soft Glam's kind of cooler cousin, because it's got some really gorgeous pink shades over here, as well as the kind of classic neutrals. It has got two pressed glitters in here. I haven't actually used them, so I don't know how they perform. I do tend to kind of avoid those, but the shade Barb in here is such a gorgeous reflective kind of almost duochrome shade. It really makes the palette and I love this, so I definitely like adore that one. Would recommend it as well if you're looking to pick up any of the ABH palettes. Next up I have my final Urban Decay palette. This is the Naked Cherry. I got this one the same time I got the Coloured Rain Queen of Hearts, so this is like my third oldest palette or something. This is the palette here, again ignore here for my A to Z Eyeshadow Project Pan, but this is just the palette here. It is really gorgeous. I actually really adore these tones. I think I will be kind of panning this in the near future because again it's one of my oldest, but I think these ones would be super easy to use up, as well as these ones and probably this one too, so I don't think I'd have as much trouble panning this one as I did my Naked 3. But I really enjoy using this palette. I'm really happy to have it in my collection and definitely really kind of cherish that one. Then I've got my 3 Sigma palettes. Someone asked me on the comments of my swatching all my Beauty Bay palettes to do a Sigma one too, so I think that's going to be coming very soon, if not before this video, but yes, I'll be doing that soon. But just as a quick recap, here are my 3 Sigma palettes. So I've got the Enchanted. This was the first one that I got. This I got secondhand, but it was unused. This is so stunning and just so ethereal and gorgeous. I just think this is such a unique color story as well. It's so pretty. Then we have the 2 I bought from the Sigma website on their sale when they were having like a 50% off sale. We've got the Ambience, which is stunning. This is their newest, besides the Cinderella collab, newest release, and this is just gorgeous. Such gorgeous warm toned green. I adore this one so much. And then we have the Corda Rosa, which is probably actually my favorite Sigma palette, even though I wasn't expecting it to be. This is just so pretty, especially like the shades Sun Sprite, Belle of the Ball, and the mattes like Medallion, Summer Song. They are just gorgeous, so I really adore this. I've kind of rushed through those ones because I'm going to be basically doing a dedicated video on them, so I don't feel the need to kind of talk about them too much here. But yeah, those are just another lot of my palettes basically. And then onto the second to last pile, even though the last pile is like huge, we have some more palettes. So here we have my Colourpop Sandstone. I like this palette. I think it's definitely very mid-range in my collection. Like, I don't love it, I don't hate it. It's very nice. It's just a very much a warm neutral palette. One thing I think this one is missing is kind of maybe a bit of a lighter gold. I think that would probably work very nicely with the palette. It's very brown, but it's very nice. The quality is fine, the shimmers are fine. It's just a very fine palette in my opinion, not to be rude or anything. It's just very nice, plain, a good palette if you're looking for a cheaper one. Obviously I don't think this is available anymore, but I do think it's nice in terms of if you're looking for like a warm neutral color story. Then we have the Nubian 3 from Dubious Place. This is the coral one. I picked this one up on Black Friday last year, and I believe it's the last time they were kind of available on Beauty Bay, but this is nice. This again I haven't used too much, so I think the 1 week 1 palette will really benefit me in terms of getting some more use out of these and to know if I really like them. I used this for maybe like a week after I got it and then haven't touched it since, which is so bad. But these 2 shades here are really pretty. I even did like a kind of grey look and that was actually really nice. These kind of corally tones are gorgeous too, so I actually really like this one and I can't wait to roll it into that project and play with it more. Then we have my Garden Variety palette. I got this from Reagan at the same time as the Sandstone one. This is really nice as well. I kind of prefer this to the Sandstone just because it's got a little bit more of a variety. As you can see, I've got a pan in here and the shade Don't Leave looks a bit like that because it is a Super Shock. But yeah, this is a really nice palette. I do find the shimmers probably perform better with a glitter glue, but still overall they are really nice. I really do enjoy this one and it's nice. How many times can I say I enjoy this and it's nice? I just need to find different adjectives. So then I have the Soft Glam palette. This is probably my second favourite ABH palette. My boyfriend bought this for me for Christmas last year and I love it. I think this is the perfect warm neutral palette if you're looking to kind of get into more high-end eyeshadow and you want something quite beginner friendly. I would definitely recommend this one. I think it's really, really pretty. As you can see, a lot of these shades have dips and most of them are very natural dips. I think these ones were in my Pan Those eyeshadows, but such a gorgeous palette. I really, really enjoy this and I'm really glad to have it in my collection. It was on my wish list for quite a while actually, but it is so stunning. And it does have some duplicate shades with other ABH palettes. Burnt Orange, Tempera and maybe Orange Soda, I believe, are duplicates, but I think Cypress Amber too, maybe, with a couple of other palettes. But they're shades that I actually really enjoy using, so I really don't mind about that. They are kind of probably the ones in the palette that I use the most, so I don't mind. Then we have my Kylie Bybel palette. I got this one for like £5 because I had more, it was on half price on Look Fantastic and I had credit left over. So I was really, really happy with that. But this is the ABH Kylie Bybel palette. I definitely think this one got a lot of hate that it didn't deserve. It's got a different formula to the ABH formula, like the normal one from the Soft Glam or the Modern Renaissance and every other palette that I have basically. It's a little bit stiffer, but that doesn't mean it's bad. The mattes I think are exactly the same. They perform beautifully. The shimmers Mandala, and Mandala is a little bit lackluster, so a bit more of a kind of light wash of colour. And shades like Moo, I don't know how to describe the consistency. They're a little bit stiffer, but they're not necessarily like hard to get out. They're still really creamy. But yeah, like My Angels, Moo, Aura, they're all really gorgeous shades. OA as well. Like, this is a really, really pretty palette, so I definitely think it's criminally underrated and I can't wait to bring this out and play with it a little bit more. So now moving on to two quite much more high-end palettes. Firstly, we have the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize. I picked this up in TK Maxx, which I was astounded by. This I got for, I believe I paid 20 something pounds for it, which is ridiculous. This is a stunning palette and one of the shades is popping out here, so let me just not let that fall and crack because that is my favorite shade in the palette. I do have a bit of an issue with this one popping out, but again, you can just press it back in. It's a very soft shimmer formula, so it's fine, and for getting it for so cheap, I really don't mind. But this is just a stunning palette. The trios alone look gorgeous and together as well, just stunning. Like, really, really, really pretty palette. You can use the shimmers as crease shades as well, which is amazing. But yeah, this palette is gorgeous and the packaging is incredible. I love it. I would kind of like it to be, it's actually pretty decently weighted now I think about it. Yeah, I really love that one. And then we have this beauty. She is new to me. I got her for £88 instead of 111, which I didn't mind too much about. This was going to be a Black Friday purchase, but it went on sale early, so I picked this one up. This is the stunning Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, and look at her gorgeousness. Yes, I've technically only used this one time, but we're not going to talk about it because I've been testing out so many new palettes and trying to work on my Pan Those eyeshadows. This is one of my favourite palettes of all time. The gold, like this one, is the only one I've used so far, but it was incredible. It looks so wet and foiled on the lids. It was gorgeous. So the mattes that I've tried in here are stunning. I really, really can't wait to use this one more. I'm so happy that I picked this up. I think it's got such a gorgeous place in my collection, so I'm like over the moon to have this, and every time I look at it, it just brings me so much serotonin and joy. I'm so happy to have it. I literally adore it. So now we are finally onto my last pile. Yay. Okay, so here is my final pile of palettes. We've actually not taken too long with this one. I'm very surprised. So first up here we have the Pastel Roses Trick or Treat palette. When I'm filming this, I actually only got this yesterday and I did my first impressions today, but obviously this is going up a little bit later. This is incredible. This is probably one of my favorite palettes in my collection. The shade Treats and the shade Silent looks so gorgeous. That's the look I'm doing today. Treats is just immaculate on the lids. The duochrome at the bottom, so pretty too, and like the shimmers are amazing. The mattes blend effortlessly. I absolutely adore this palette. I gushed about it so much in that video, so if you want to see it, I will link it up here. I'm not sure what side it is. I'll link it up in the cards. But I like cannot get over how gorgeous this is. This is one of my favorite palettes and literally cannot fault it. I adore it so much. So yeah, really, really happy to have this one in my collection, and I would 1000% recommend Pastel Roses. They're a UK quite small indie brand, so I would 1000% recommend them. Then speaking of indie brands, we've got, I don't know if Beauty Bay is technically one too, but we've got two of the Odin's Eye palettes. So this was the Freya palette. I got this one for half price when they said they were discontinuing it, but then they didn't. This is a very average palette to me. The mattes are gorgeous. I really like them. The shimmers are just okay. I think this shade is probably the nicest, and this one's got a nice duochrome. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just quite average. For £11, very, very happy with it. I think it's good quality. For £22, which was the original price, maybe not so much, but it's still a really gorgeous palette, and the packaging is just immaculate. Oden's Eye packaging is stunning. I literally adore it so much. So yeah, this is a really nice palette, but just isn't quite the same as this one, which is amazing. Again, another one of my favorite. These 4 palettes here are some of my absolute favorites in my collection. So we've got the Oden's Eye Alva palette, which is just stunning. The quality on here is amazing, genuinely so gorgeous. The shimmers in here are stunning. Everything about this palette I adore. I don't think I could fault it at all, like literally at all. I love it so much. Now that I've got glitter glue as well, I really want to try some of these shimmers. I think they would just pop so gorgeously, so I can't wait to pull this one out again. I absolutely adore it, and I'm literally dying to use it again. I think I'm going to use it very soon for a look. Then we have the famous Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. This is actually back in stock as of when I'm filming. I'm not sure if it still is, but it'll be linked in the description either way. Here is the stunning colour story, very colourful obviously, but my favourite shade is actually Fossil here, this neutral. It's such a gorgeous reflective gold, it's stunning. The greens in here and the blues, obviously. The reds I haven't actually used too much, but the greens are stunning. This little neutral quad is absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love this so much, this little quad down here. This is such a stunning palette, definitely so gorgeous. Love the Beauty Bay formula. They are my favorite brand for a reason. I literally love everything they come out with, so I adore this one. Really happy that I did get to pick this one up, and would recommend you do too. So here, I don't like the outer packaging of this. I think it's so ugly compared to like this one, which is really nice, and this one, which is again super nice. But we have the Age of Opulence palette. This is their Christmas release, like holiday release, I guess, not Christmas. This is their holiday release for 2021. So I will again link this in the description. This is still available, but I don't think it will be after holiday. This is really pretty. The shade Crush is gorgeous, like pink to gold duochrome. The shimmers in here, Beauty Bay shimmers are just immaculate. I love them so much. And the mattes in here blend effortlessly. They are so stunning. I gushed about this in my first impressions video, so I won't talk too much about that now, but I adore it. Again, this one won't talk too much about. Absolutely gushed in my first impressions video, as I said before with the other one. I just love Beauty Bay. I'm like a massive fan of Beauty Bay. I'm such a suck up. I just adore them. So here is the massive jade palette. As you can see, really gorgeous, but I love this. I feel like the color story, I love how it's split into kind of warm brights and kind of cooler grunges. Ignore where I've accidentally dug my concealer in. I dropped it here and here, so please ignore that. This is such a stunning palette. If you want to see my first impressions, I will link it in the cards along with my Age of Opulence one too. This I think is actually, I know it looks all a bit like a lot of colors, but I actually find it reasonably cohesive, and I really enjoy this palette. It's a lot of shades. I would probably maybe have preferred them to bring out maybe 2 palettes with this many shades, maybe this color story and this one, but so stunning. Like, I absolutely adore this. I think it is a really great palette, so I would 1000% recommend this one, probably the most, just because of the variety and the amount of shades you get. But yeah, that is my final little pile of palettes. So yeah, I really hope you guys did enjoy seeing my eyeshadow palette collection. If you see any palettes that you do want me to make videos with, literally just let me know and I will do them. I love making videos about eyeshadow, so anything you want to see, I will do. Yeah, I really hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what your favorite eyeshadow palette that you've seen I have is. Again, as I said before, anything you want to see me make videos with, I will more than happily do. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and sticking through this long video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a like down below. Hit subscribe, turn the bell to join a little club. Make sure you turn on all notifications, and then you'll be notified every single time I post a new video. My social media, all these palettes and anything else you may need to find will be linked in the description. There will be 2 videos on the screen now to pick from if you want to watch one of my other videos, as well as a load linked up in the cards from earlier. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!